The Cavan Residency was situated in the prehistoric Cavan Burn, near the source of the River Shannon at the foothills of Cuilcagh mountain. Rising to the surface at Shannon Pot, the river in this region flows primarily underground. Formed over 340 million years ago, the Cavan Burn is of significant geological and ecological importance and is designated UNESCO Global Geopark status. The following interviews were recorded with artist duo Boredom Research and community participant Andy King during the artist residency in the Geopark in West Cavan. They discussed details of their residency and the community-led research process that involved ecologists, geologists, farmers and storytellers.
We knew very little about Irish mythology. When you start reading about it, it's so rich and there's so many stories as well. It's quite a lot to get your head around, but actually to come here and start talking to people that are really intimately connected with some of these stories is just a really valuable experience.
Because these are all stories that are really kind of describing how people relate to their environment, and that's kind of an essential thing. And we work with scientists that are very much engaged with the environment or kind of with concerns over the environment. Science is a very kind of weird place where a lot of that kind of activity is only really kind of manifests in scientific publications that are read by such few people, and manifestation of folklore, it seems to be kind of absent in contemporary culture. That in a way we kind of had the question, what would contemporary folklore be, or is there a way of understanding scientific practice from a folklore perspective?
I think it was the mythological beast aspect to start off with, because obviously a lot of our work is like we produce fictional beings, like we animate fictional organisms. So when we saw the mythical beast thing, we thought that really relates to our work. And then obviously we looked a bit deeper, didn't we? To start to appreciate geological time, but also the river that runs underground and also above ground. There's a lot of mystery, you know, like what is happening underground, and I think that's what really drew us in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite an experience to see the waterway underground as well as overground. So we've been spending a lot of time at the source, so Shannon Pot. It hasn't been researched that widely. So I think they think it's about like 9 meters deep, but there's still a lot of unsurety about that. It's sort of those unknowns that we sort of are interested in. And then we had a whole experience of caving, didn't we? Where we actually went to White Father Caves.
When we turned up, we arrived and we was given an agenda, and the agenda was kind of just packed with all these kind of activities, and they were kind of just titles and descriptions, and one of them was kind of, you know, the name of a cave. And when we were being briefed on this, there was this kind of gesture, and there'll be a bit of this at the end. And we were sort of like, what does that mean? And it's like, oh yeah, you just need to swim out of the cave at the end.
And we were like, well, we haven't got a wetsuit or anything. Is someone going to provide us with a wetsuit?
We've never swum out of a cave in wellies before, so that was definitely a first for us. But it's that kind of range of different perspectives that not only have we physically been kind of, you know, along the river, at the source of the river, at the kind of before the source of the river, places where the water kind of enters the ground before it reappears at Shannon Pot, but we've actually been kind of under the ground, so we've been physically in all these different kind of very different spaces to kind of understand the source of the Shannon, but also kind of we've been conceptually in so many different spaces because of the number of different perspectives that we've experienced from ecologists, folklorists, storytellers. It's been an incredible
kind of like a journey, really, to kind of like talk to all those people. But it's been a lot to absorb as well. We were talking about it this morning. We were sort of saying, Paul had this amazing analogy. He sort of said, well, it's been a bit like we've been in a pickle jar, and now we need to kind of go home and absorb everything. We need to absorb all the kind of exotic spices and everything that's been like thrown at us.
We need to just be put on the shelf somewhere and let it sit for a few months to make sense of it all. Let all that kind of like all those kind of flavours mix together and hopefully produce something exotic and tasty.
I think the thing about this place is that it's untouched. When I start talking about these things, they're suddenly alive because nothing's changed. You know, you could go to those lakes and the landscape's identical. It's bushes and rocks and wild things and fish. It's that I'm actually just kind of bringing to life what is here now. Primeval energy in this place is really vibrant. You know, in other parts of the world, it's kind of a long forgotten, far away history, but here you can actually, it's tangible, you can feel it. It's magic, and you feel the magic.
We feel that there's some really interesting connections and relationships between kind of current kind of activity and concerns over maintaining the diversity in the area and how that relates to a lot of the mythology of the area. And the whole kind of, I mean, for us, the whole idea of this journey along the Shannon has been, and the idea of a source has become almost like a kind of a back to basics way of kind of thinking about so many other journeys, kind of an evolutionary journey of kind of plants and species and the colonization of the area, and how all these kind of stories and all that relate to the way of thinking that is about recognizing the value of something that has kind of accumulated in such a rich and complex way over such an extensive period of time. And I think that's something that we're really hoping to somehow kind of bring those very different ideas together.
The resulting film from the residency, The Cavanoids Dance, is a work of reinterpreted folklore responding to the mystery that surrounds Shannon Pot, the long-believed source of the River Shannon. Combining elements of animation and film captured on location in the Geopark, the film portrays the awakening of the Cavanoids, fictional creatures created by the artists. The Cavanoids' creation was influenced by the landscape, referencing local flora and the fossilized coral embedded in the limestone rock of the Cavan Burn.